Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest heart, the blackest mind, the blackest man on social media. Signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So here it goes, y'all. I'm going to talk a little bit quickly. First off, the reason I didn't say much about OnlyFans was because I had doubts that they were actually going to go through with the ban, but after a while I lost those doubts, and I figured, no, they're really going to do it. And then I found out a few hours ago that they reversed that. The other reason was that even if they went through with the ban and it went into effect on October, I did not believe that the wicked witches of the West were going to learn a lesson. So I stayed quiet about it because I wanted something to happen to where they must learn their lesson. But it also got me to thinking, gentlemen, some of you want to be petty and sit back and say, yeah, they're going to learn to eat some humble pie now. And it's not wrong to want this for them. Because you see, the women that actually do struggle to survive without doing stuff like this and taking these shortcuts deserve some credit. About as much credit as an honest man would. However, I've already talked about it, and it hit me today. Early today, it hit me that I've already talked about what actually will teach them a lesson and get them to eat some humble pie. What that is you not sweating them. I'm not saying you don't notice them, but you giving them nothing, you not validating her, you not approaching her are necessary. And a lot of you think because you're guys in biology, you can't do that. And I'm telling you, you can. It is possible. So cut that mess out. Get rid of this idea that you just can't be chaste and male chastity is a fantasy of mine and it is just what it is, and that you can't help yourself. You're going to log into the sites and pay some money and grab the lotion and rub one out. I'm telling you, gentlemen, even if you were going to do something that self-degrading, don't pay. Absolutely don't pay. Do not validate them electronically or in person. Do not approach them electronically or in person. Give them nothing electronically or in person. This is what makes them eat humble pie. They are noticing not being approached. Now, they're not learning lessons from that, but they're noticing not being approached. And even then, they're not learning enough of the moral lesson from that. Even one lady was sitting up and saying to other women, stop doing this, but she was not about to take accountability herself, and maybe she had nothing to do with it. That's possible. Now, that leads me to the next thing. Because, gentlemen, you cannot afford to approach in the West. This leads me to Just BB. Ma'am, you've commented without hatred, very respectfully, on my site, and I'm going to respond in kind, but I just want to make this very clear. I don't sit up and say that light-skinned men should not approach light-skinned women because either one is light-skinned. I'm saying that men in the West should not approach women in the West, but unfortunately, light-skinned black men approaching light-skinned black women have the highest probabilities of rejection and nuclear rejection of that. So therefore, the last arrangement in which men should ever make approaches is light-skinned men approaching light-skinned black women. That should be the last approach to take place, not because we hate you, nothing like that, but simply because we already know light-skinned black women are not interested in lighter-skinned black men. This is known. Or if they are, they don't admit it. Now, you can individually be different, and that's fine, but I'm talking about the aggregate scenario. There's no way that a light-skinned black man can look at you in public and come up with some knowledge that you're the one exception. Now, I can tell you all this. Last time I was in my hometown, a month and some weeks ago, I was there as a married man and already married. But it was a case where my bank card ceased to work. Now, I had cash, but my bank card ceased to work. Anytime I travel, that tends to happen on exactly the 30th day that I'm traveling abroad. Then the 31st day, it comes back, starts working again. This has happened before. When I was at the pharmacy, swiping the card and it didn't take, the lady, a cute, light-skinned black woman, and I could tell from her last name she was Creole on the name tag, was very nice, friendly. I wouldn't say she flirted, but she would have. had it been a slightly different scenario. However, she was older too. That's not a problem for me. That's a problem for most other men and a problem for most women. So things obviously have changed a bit, but the fact, like I've said, since age is something that bothers women and other men, I had to remember to myself, she would not be this friendly. She'd be polite, but she would not have actually been this friendly and talkative had she been younger. Not with a man my shade. I mean, I'm from my hometown. I know how it goes down. That would not have happened. Therefore, I was not going to try to make her wife number two. Now, I no longer have any objections to marrying a practicing woman of the book, a practicing Christian or a practicing Jewish woman. I don't hate the idea. I'm cool with that. But if I was going to have a second wife, it wouldn't have been her. Anyway, that brings me each one of these segues into the next. So yeah, just BB, I just wanted you to understand that I'm not saying what I say on the basis of complexion. Although I do say that the last approach that should happen is the one that you're saying should happen now, because of not the way we feel, but because of the way that, historically speaking, light-skinned women have felt. Now, just BB, let's say that you were that lady behind the counter. And I could never say that you're not, because I don't know who you are and I don't know her social media presence either. But let's say maybe you were that lady behind the counter. I would have had no way of knowing unless she'd been that friendly. But then on the other hand, although I don't wear a wedding ring because I'm not Christian, I'm married. Would that have been okay? You see, it's always going to be something. Next, I do understand as well, Just BB, and I'm going to say this to black folk in general, but you also brought up this point, Just BB. And that is that while I do count myself as a black African, just very pale, you believe in coming up with a separate category for black admixed people. I'm not really for or against it anymore. I do realize from my last 2 visits in the States that things change so quickly that I may very well not be up to speed on why we should or should not be a separate category. I understand that. A lot of people that disagree with me don't even hate me. They just think we should be another category. Nakmeezy does not hate me. He does think that we should be another category. Some people want to call us golden people. I don't mind that, although I think that it would probably be more, maybe it would be better to call us copper bronze, or rather darkly metallic people, just if we're going to compare ourselves to metal, just to be fair. I'm just trying to come up with the most accurate term, but see, we would debate on what that is. However, I do believe that even if you take various admixtures of people and lump them into a category, those of a black admixture still would have to be categorized separately from those of other admixtures. Black blood really does make a big difference to a lot of people, more than they mean for it to. That's going to be problematic. It's going to take years to even hash out, but I'm not going to sit up and say you shouldn't discuss it because, like I said, I don't live there. Haven't lived there for 7 years. I've only visited, and I may not be informed enough anymore to say that we should or should not be. I will say this. Kwame Brown is an example of why it is that all black folks, admixed or not, are going to have to take a stand against foolishness if we don't want this sort of disunity. Kwame Brown stood up as he should. The problem, though, is that Kwame Brown did not face enough censure from the black community as a whole, admixed or not, for going in on DJ Envy's and Matt Barnes' phenotypes more than he had anything to say about what they said. Now, he can disagree about what they said. That's a choice. He also kept going in on their phenotype. That's not a choice. And he ain't got no bigger nose or bigger lips than Matt Barnes does, who has a white parent. My nose and my lips are both bigger than Kwame Brown's and Matt Barnes all put together. I got some Makumbana Yabange lips. I can shake my head one time no at a classroom and kiss the whole classroom full of kids. Got a nose so wide that if I didn't have sinus problems, I could have sniffed out where bin Laden was years ago. Not that I'd want to. But here Kwame Brown is with neither the wide nose nor big lips going in on Matt. So what's he going in on him about? Obviously nothing but skin tone and hair texture. That's it. Those are the only two things left. That's not all. He went in on him and DJ Envy, and he kept doing it. And granted, when it came to the Caucasian fella that does sports commentation, I forgot that guy's name, he did make jokes about him looking like Dracula, but he did not question his masculinity. So when it came down to the masculinity of DJ Envy and Matt Barnes, he would go all in based on the shade, but he did not question the masculinity of the actual unmixed Caucasian man. That's hypocrisy if I've seen it. There's another thing though. He said, when he was doing this and saying stuff about how, you light-skinned guys always try to hang out with us and be tough and hang, and we what we did y'all dirty. All my dark-skinned brothers know what I'm talking about. One, that's not true. Their dark-skinned men they may know what he's talking about, but they didn't all do that. But he felt comfortable enough saying this. He felt comfortable enough joking in adulthood about something that is very childish anyway. And he felt comfortable enough to sit up and say that even as adults, you all understood, like, y'all all in on it. We all did this. No, everybody ain't do that. But the fact that he felt that comfortable is a bad sign for Black America. And to be honest with you, it should have been cats going in on him. Dennis Sperling, Judge Brown, and I supported his right to talk back to people that were actually going in on him about what they said, about what they did, things that were under their control. But I was the only one of the three that I heard saying something about how I need to watch his mouth when it comes to phenotype. That's not the problem. His phenotype's not a problem. Neither is DJ Envy's, neither is Matt Barnes. This is very true. Brown and beige community brought up a valid point. If it is not okay for us to sit up here and make jokes about abundant melanin counts and wide noses and big lips, with the last two of which I have, and 4C hair, and I don't think it's okay to make jokes about that. Likewise, it's not okay to make jokes about a black person for being too pale or having looser hair or whatever nose size or lip size. But unfortunately, Black America hasn't come to that yet. I realize some of this is reactionary. I get that. But the problem goes that, you see, we're expected to tolerate this. And if we don't fight back, then, see, they know they ain't gonna say nothing. See, look at them. They know they can't say nothing. And if we do, see how sensitive they are. I told you they sensitive. They can't take it. That's the funny thing about it. If we said something about actual Wyatt folks, we'd catch trouble for it. I know because I've done it. And so it's like, what I'm getting at is that really all black folk of any phenotype should be fighting against folks that are willing to make fun of any phenotype. That's what I'm getting at. And I don't see that yet. That's not what's coming out to me. That doesn't jump out at me. And if we're going to continue with this, then that means there may come a day when Dennis Sperling and Judge Joe Brown and I are just three examples. Me being the unknown example, of course, because I'm not famous like they are, but, just three examples of those who have to be recategorized. And the funny thing is, nobody's going to know where it stops. So we'd have to be recategorized, but we wouldn't be able to know where it stops. And you would have cases in which two siblings with the same mother and same father would be in two different categories. I know because it happened in South Africa before. They told me about it. It's going to be a mess if it comes to that. So I'm not going to sit up and say that nobody has a right to call for it, and nobody's been through an experience that justifies them calling for a separate category. What I am going to say is that a much simpler solution will be to make that call unnecessary, but that would mean that Black America as a whole, and this would mean that some black folk with abundant melanin counts more so than Mr. Brown's, Kwame Brown's, would have to get on his behind the minute he goes off about something that is involuntary and beyond their control, like a phenotype. And that doesn't just mean skin complexion, hair texture, nose size, and lip size. It also means other things like height, ear size for that matter. And I'm not even talking about just jokes between friends, as long as both of them can dish it out and both of them can take it. That's beyond the jurisdiction. Ain't nobody's business if my cousin teases me about my shade and I look at him and I say, boy, if you don't shut your dinker looking behind, because that's a tribe in South Sudan. That's beyond your jurisdiction. But see, the thing is, we can go both ways. I could make jokes about him and it's considered okay because these are jokes. I'm talking about when you ain't friends and it's not allowed to go both ways. I expect the black community to get up as one and start dragging people through the mud who are dumb enough to start making jokes about another black phenotype. Maybe I'm asking too much. If I'm asking too much, then yes, that means that the call for recategorization is a necessity. I don't like it, but it does mean that that's a necessity if what I'm saying is asking for too much. Ain't no other third way about it. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.